Hello you fantastic people and welcome back to Borderlands 3. I hope you guys are all doing well. In this video it's going to be a little bit of a different one today. We're going to go through the top 5 legendaries in Borderlands 3 for Mayhem 10 right now. They're going to have to be able to do both bossing and mobbing to make this list. Of course, it's my opinions for these ones, and I'd love to hear you guys' suggestions down in the comments as well if they differ from mine. But we're going to have two different lists. We're going to have, of course, the new shiny DLC weapons, my top 5 recommendations for that. So if you guys haven't got them all yet, it'll essentially be my recommendations for you guys to go farm these ones first, because there's like 22 new legendaries. There's a ton, so we're going to narrow it down to the top 5 for you guys, as well as non-DLC owners. Don't worry, there'll be a top 5 list for that as well. If you guys want to make new builds for level 60 for Mayhem 10, regardless of it's for mobbing situations like the takedown, or if you want boss farming weapons, these weapons are going to be able to do both very well. So yeah, essentially we're going to go through each one individually in order, as well as show some clips on screen so you guys can see how they interact, what they do, how much damage they do as well. If you guys haven't been able to see the new DLC items, as well as where to get them from. Same with non-DLC items. Now there's a whole bunch of different scaling, buffs, nerfs, etc. to see which ones are the go-to weapons now for Mayhem 10 for both bossing and mobbing. So yeah, we're not even going to mess around. We're going to jump into the number 1 spot, because I'm sure it's absolutely no surprise to anybody that the Monarch makes the top of the list. Doesn't matter if it's DLC, doesn't matter if it's non-DLC, the Monarch is the best weapon in the game for bossing and mobbing combined. Some weapons outclass it for just mobbing, some weapons outclass it for just bossing, but if you're trying to get an all-round weapon that is just the strongest thing in the game right now, the Monarch is it. It's crazy. Crazy amount of damage, crazy amount of fire rate. You can get a ×4, you can get a ×8 variant. If you get ×8, which is super rare, but if you can get them, they do tons of damage to bosses. The Guardian Takedown is literally the meta weapon for any character, any build, doesn't matter. Comes in all elemental types, which is really good. If you can get consecutive hits of Omen on it, it just rocks anything. We're going to spend too much time with the Monarch because, of course, I'm sure a lot of people know what the Monarch is. You can get it from Mayhem 6 to Mayhem 10 from Kilovolt, and if you guys haven't got it, you need to go get the Monarch. Okay, now that we've had the number 1 spot being the Monarch at the top, we're going to have a clear DLC weapons top 4 and a clear non-DLC weapons top 4, with the Monarch being at the top. Of course, again, these are my rankings for the weapons, my favorite ones, the ones I think do the most damage. But yeah, we're going to jump into the number 2 spot being a DLC item. The Lightshow is quickly becoming my new favorite weapon in the game. It does so much damage. It doesn't even require a really good anointment for it to do crazy amounts of damage. It doesn't matter if it's the correct elemental type, if I'm going to be honest, either. I have a shock one with Gamma Burst. I'll show some clips on screen so you guys can see how much damage it does. It doesn't matter if the enemies have a shield, whether they're armored, whether they have a health bar. It wrecks through all of them, regardless of what elemental type it is, which is actually crazy. Shows how much damage it does. Once I get a god roll of this, I can't imagine how quickly we're going to destroy bosses with it. I'd highly recommend you guys go in and get this. If you guys want to pick this one up, it drops in DLC 3. I believe it's in the Obsidian Forest to a name that I'm really bad at pronouncing. I'm going to give it a go for you guys. Lazodactyl. I'm going to put it on screen so you guys can see it, but it's a crew challenge boss in the DLC 3 Obsidian Forest. Otherwise, you can just get it from any world drop situation, whether it be chests or just one of the main bosses, which I'm pretty sure is how I've got like 90% of mine. Okay, now for the number 2 spot for the non-DLC items, it is the Gutsman, and this thing has been a top tier weapon since the very start of the game, and is definitely doing damage again on Mayhem 10 at level 60, which is really good to see. The top 5, by the way, for non-DLC items is kind of hard to gauge and have a proper ranking, which is inclusive for all characters. So it might just be a bit of a inclusive top 5 great weapons rather than a perfect order for everybody. But I think the Gutsman takes a clear number 2 spot for all characters, because it's a great SMG weapon. You can jump around, does tons of damage in mobbing situations. You can hit multiple enemies at the same time, and bossing, it's always shredded. It's been great for the takedowns, both the melee one takedown and the Guardian Takedown, and I'd love to see it doing damage again at level 60 Mayhem 10. In third place, we have the Flipper. This thing is a crazy DLC item. This thing has super high damage. Fire rate is very solid once you get past the initial charge time for melee 1 weapons. Mag size, pretty solid, with a reload time pretty average. We haven't managed to get any god rolls for fadeaway flak yet, but Gamma Burst, we managed to get this one super early on, and shreds mobbing situations, shreds bosses as well, which is really good. That's why I'm super keen to try and get one for fadeaway flak. The way this thing works, I'll show some clips on screen for you guys. The longer you shoot, the more projectiles it shoots without pulling the finger off the trigger. Essentially, first shot, it will shoot 1 projectile, and it will continually grow until it has 9 projectiles for the same cost of ammo, by the way. You're still only shooting, I'm pretty sure it consumes 1 bullet per shot. and you end up shooting 9 projectiles, which is crazy. It's kind of like a Sandhawk, the amount of projectiles it has. Can't wait to see how much damage we can get on fadeaway flak with this thing. But even on gamma, it goes to town, which is fantastic. If you have something like Moe's as well, it's going to be great. Never having to reload, constantly having those 9 projectiles flying with that ammo regen would be great. You can farm this one as well in Bloodstone Canyon if you guys want to get your hands on one of these flippers. It comes in all elemental types except non-elemental, because of course melee 1 weapons. It also comes in 2 elements at once because, again, melee 1. Bloodstone Canyon Minosaur, by the way, crew challenge boss if you guys want to farm for this one. In the number 3 place for non-DLC items, it is the Lub. This thing is still a machine for mobbing and bossing situations for any character as well, which is great. I haven't even managed to get myself a level 61, but this one is still doing serious damage, and I don't even have a max damage 1. That's a huge thing to keep your eye out for, by the way. At level 57, I know Mayhem 10 Lob could vary from 22,000 damage to 33,000 damage, I think is the biggest variance I heard of. For level 60, I'm not sure what the max damage one is, but just keep trying to farm it to get one well above 33, I know that for sure. And this thing absolutely shreds. Mobbing and bossing doesn't matter, and doesn't matter really what character you're running either, so I'd highly recommend getting a Lob for non-DLC players. In the number 4 spot for DLC items, it is the Beacon. This thing is really, really cool. I feel like it's a Hellshock version 2. Comes in 2 elemental types, super fast fire rate, 9 bullets per second, high damage as well. Absolutely destroys mobbing situations. Bossing does very well as well, but it absolutely shines in mobbing situations, particularly with our kind of burst build, of course. Takes out melee 1 enemies in the takedown like it's nothing. The Guardian takedown, you got to get up nice and close because, of course, the melee 1 projectile speed is a little slow, unfortunately. But the damage on this thing is crazy. If you guys want to farm for this one, you're going to have to go to Bloodstone Canyon in DLC 3. You're going to look for a crew challenge boss there called Jarek or Logan. That guy is going to drop it for you guys. If not, you can go for any world drop location, any of the chests in DLC 3, or any of the main bosses. For example, the final boss is a fantastic place. Farm for any world drop legendaries in the DLC 3. Drops them very regularly, and actually with some good annoyance as well. Pretty sure that's where I've got all of my beacons so far, and would highly recommend that farm. In the number 4 spot is the Sandhawk Sniper Rifle. It did get some serious nerfs, unfortunately, as of the patch, but this thing, it doesn't matter. It still does a crazy amount of damage. The only real problem you have with it now is ammo consumption, as if that wasn't already a problem at the start when it came out. It definitely is a problem now. It's going to be a fantastic weapon for most mains, keeping that thing reloaded, never having to get that. You have essentially bypassed the only huge downfall for this weapon, and you're just getting crazy amounts of damage. I've only got a level 57 one at the moment, haven't even farmed for a 61 yet, but it does tons of damage still. Doesn't matter. If you go for the semi-automatic, I know semi-automatic isn't everybody's favorite thing. I personally don't like it, but it has a shorter weapon spread, and you can hit crits way easier with that. You won't have to be up so nice and close with a sniper rifle. And you guys can get any elemental variant with this thing except non-elemental, so it can take on any kind of boss, any mobbing situation as well, which is great. And in the number 5 spot for DLC items is actually the Herald. It almost didn't make my list. If you guys haven't farmed this one too much, and I mean, like, you kind of need to farm this one a lot to make it work really, really well. The non-elemental Heralds aren't all that, unfortunately. Even if you get a good anoint, it's not all that. It'll do a solid amount of damage to mobs, but if you want it to actually smash in M10, you're gonna have to farm this one a ton. I farmed this thing well over 800 to 1,000 times, I'm pretty sure, and it's very, very difficult to get yourselves a good elemental variant with a good anoint as well. I managed to get this one today from Kaber Dowd, I think is how you pronounce it, from Bloodstone Canyon in DLC 3 after another 500 farms of that guy just today alone. This one is the first semi-god roll I've managed to get. You can get way more base damage, but to have a fire one with Gamma Burst is fantastic. I'll show some clips on screen so you guys can just see how much damage this one does. You can get up to, I believe, 12.9k is the highest base damage number I have seen on any Herald so far. So if you get that with fire damage, or really any elemental damage with your respective anointment, it's gonna absolutely smack M10 bosses, M10 enemies, it doesn't matter. It's a really good weapon. I'm super happy to see this thing back in the game. Just keep farming until you get the elemental variant, because non-elementals just, it ain't it, unfortunately. Now we're going to have a quick tag on for non-DLC weapons and DLC weapons as well. The complex root is one of the best weapons in the game, so I had to put it in this video. Just unfortunately only a bossing weapon. It doesn't really work for mobbing situations, because if enemies move, it's not going to do anywhere near as much damage. If they're smaller, it's not going to do that much damage. But for bosses, it is one of the fastest, if not the fastest way to kill bosses in the game. If you guys want to see how much damage this thing does, I'm going to leave a build video linked in the description or the end card tile screen, so you guys can see how quickly this thing destroys stuff. It's a fantastic weapon, would highly recommend you guys farming it. It comes in all elemental types. It's a melee 1 weapon, so it comes in 2 at any given time. You can farm it from Laney Dixon, I believe, in Asphalt Peaks in DLC 3. Would recommend this weapon as well. And at the number 5th spot for non-DLC items is the Maggie. It's only really in the 5th spot because I feel like not every character can utilize this weapon, unfortunately. Like for example, Mose, I haven't played Mose too much, but I don't think she'll be able to utilize the damage on this thing. She won't be able to get that ammo regen, and it doesn't do splash. But Flak, this thing is destroying right now. I'm so happy it's made a comeback from the patch. Get you guys a level 60 version of this. I would recommend farming wise, go for world drop locations. The dedicated drop being in a slaughter shaft is kind of a pain, unfortunately. But this thing, if you guys get to level 60, Mayhem 10 with a good anoint, it's back, boys. It's back. It's a crazy weapon. Would highly recommend. And the extra shout out to a non-DLC weapon is a Recursion. This thing is by far at least number 2, if not number 1 spot for the Guardian takedown weapons for mobbing only. This thing, it clears rooms. It ricochets to so many enemies at once, doing so much damage. Doesn't even matter what build you're on. This thing will absolutely crush the Guardian takedown, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, it does absolutely 0 damage to individual enemies, unfortunately. So bossing situations, it doesn't really work. But if you guys haven't tried this one out, it drops from General Traunt. It doesn't have to be in any particular Mayhem level. Get you guys level 61 of these, and it will absolutely fly through the Guardian takedown. But yeah, that is my top 5 legendary weapons in Borderlands 3 right now for Mayhem 10 that do both bossing and mobbing damage like crazy. Highly recommend those weapons for you guys. If you guys have a different tier list, I'm sure most people will have a different ranking order for the particular builds and characters. I'd love to see in the comment section down below. Don't forget to list what building characters you guys are running to get these weapons to do crazy amounts of damage. I'd love to hear about it down there. If you guys found this video helpful or enjoyable, I'd love you guys to smash subscribe down below for more Borderlands 3 videos on builds, drop rates, gun guides, tier lists like this, all that kind of stuff. If you guys want to help me out even more, you could smash like and share the video down below. That would be awesome. If you guys want to check us out over on Twitch, I live stream every single night just after I post my YouTube videos. That's always linked down below, or just search CodeMeQ on Twitch. Pretty cool place to hang out with a bunch of people that like Borderlands 3, have a good time, and make some cool builds, get up to random shenanigans, that kind of stuff. And yeah, hope you guys have a fantastic day. I shall see you guys in the next video and a live stream. Till then, adios.